Hey y'all, it's Billy Hell, and I've been doing a lot of guitar stuff, but I have so many stories that I haven't told, and I have these folks that I run around with, and they're like, "Have you written that down? Have you told that story yet?" So I was just—I don't even know how I got on this topic, but I have a story I want to tell about Peter Sherayko. Peter Sherayko was in the movie Tombstone. So what I'll do is show you a picture just so that you'll know who we're talking about here and bring it up. So let's go to a picture of Peter. So this is Peter in Tombstone. Uh, I'm sure you've seen the movie. If you haven't, don't watch this video or this story. Just go watch the movie. Just stop what you're doing. Go watch Tombstone. It's a great Western. There's a lot of good information about it. And this is Peter, who was in the movie. Now, I knew Peter before the movie, and I knew him because this is all leading up to when we actually hung out. In Waco, Texas. I went to Baylor University, and I worked on a movie there. And the whole cast of that movie also worked on a movie with Peter. And Peter was like I guess he was definitely an actor and a kind of a weapons expert. So I grew up in a house full of guns in Texas. And people would say, "You got to meet Peter Sherayko. He can like cock a 45 auto with one hand." And I just kept hearing, "You need to meet Peter Sherayko." So ultimately, after I went to Baylor, I wound up in LA working on movie sets. And I have this recurring dream. I still have it. And it only came true once, thanks to Peter. And the dream is I go into a shop and it's full of vintage cowboy hats, vintage pistols, vintage chaps, boots, spurs, everything's from the 1860s, 70s, 80s. And I walk around and shop for all these amazing artifacts that I can purchase and own. And, that was years ago when I had that dream initially. But when I was in LA, I saw a sign that said One Eye Jacks. And I didn't have much money back then. I worked on movies, so occasionally I would have cash on me. But I walked in this shop, and it was just like my dream. It was like buffalo jackets and buffalo coats and pistols and spurs, and kind of like my office is now. If you look around, there's all that in here. But and the owner was Peter Sherayko. He was sitting behind the cash register. And so I started talking to him, and I realized this is the guy everybody in Texas was telling me I should meet. So and we were talking. And I tell him about my pistol I have. Well, I won't whip it out because I don't think YouTube likes that kind of stuff. But I bring out my pistol and I go, well, I live down the street. I literally live half a block from where his shop was. So I'd go back and I've got my single action Colt. We're looking at it, and then he breaks out some whiskey and we start drinking it. And then he says, "You should come back to my house. We're all meeting at this bar in Calabasas." Now, back then, Calabasas was just people with horses. And so we go back to his house, and his house had a staircase that went up, and he had a pistol and holster looped around the handrail all the way up to the second story. And out front he had two horses and a corral, and it was very, very cool. And so at this point in the game, we're still drinking whiskey. I think he's now got me drinking 151. I believe he was trying to get me drunk, or at least, I don't know. The liquor flowed, and I was like all of 22 years old, so I didn't care. But I told him, I said, I twirled my pistols. Back then, I was a pretty good twirler before I broke my thumb. And I told him I could twirl a double barrel shotgun. And he said, "I don't believe you." I said, "Go get one." Well, I knew I could because I had a double barrel shotgun and I twirled it. So I twirled this double barrel 12 gauge. He was amazed. And he said, "Hey, let's go to this bar in Calabasas where half the people rode up there on horses." And we go in, and Phil Spangenberger, look at me remembering everything. When I was a kid, I used to read these gun magazines, and Phil Spangenberger wrote the historical section for like I forget the name of it. But I'd ordered things from him. Oh, that hat's not in here. But he was sitting at the table. And then there was somebody else. Anyway, there were two or three of my heroes sitting at that table at the time. And I couldn't believe they were all in one place. Well, since we started drinking whiskey at his place and then 151 at his house, and then we went to a bar, it got a little sketchy there. So they asked me, well, I don't remember how I got out of there. I don't remember, but we had a big time. Let's just put it that way. So fast forward, let's see. Let's go over here to this. This is a holster. Let's see if I can open it up just to the holster. This is a holster. Well, there's Peter. Okay, well, this is good. I made this holster for Peter, and I called it the Sherayko. And back when I was doing this, I was making lots of holsters. And so this was kind of a floral design I put together that I liked. I liked that it had the dropping. I can't point there. You can't see my hand, but I like this design. So I made it for Peter, and I called it the Sherayko, and I sent it to him. And I was really excited when he sent me back a picture. I guess he was at his, and we'll talk about that next. He was at shooting something, and that is Lee Army. I know his name. Yeah, Lee Army, and you know him from many military movies. I think he got one of his first jobs on. Oh my gosh, I just thought of this and started talking. Apocalypse Now. Wow, I believe that is correct. Army got his first job there. And so that's them holding up the holster that I sent him. Very nice. And it sure made my day when I saw that. The thing I did on this holster I never did before was I tooled the back of the holster right here, which I thought was very cool. That doesn't help you, does it? And so we're going to move on. Peter has a ranch in California where they shoot movies. And what I didn't realize, and this is a great picture. Well, maybe let's go one more. Yeah, here we go. This is just some of the buildings on his ranch. And so when you shoot there, you have the external land and all the very Western looking scenic beauty. But then he also has buildings that you can shoot in. And this picture is a great example of why me sending him a holster probably wasn't that big a deal. He appears to have, hundreds and hundreds of holsters and guns that you can also rent. And that comes from being in the movie business and working. Boy, one of those looks a lot like my pistol. So this is his place out in California. Hopefully that made it through the wildfires. I haven't checked. But anyway, I just thought I would tell the story about Peter Sherayko and how I met him and the one great day that we had together. And could not have been nicer to me. I always appreciate it every time I see him or a mention of him. And oh, that's what it was. I'm hunting for some Cathedral 1880s cowboy boots. And I was looking at a post and it said liked by Peter Sherayko. That's where this whole story started. And I thought, whoa, Peter Sherayko is right there. So anyway, hey, Peter, if you're watching, I think I'm going to keep just loading up stories because I'll remember a story and somebody will say, you should write that down, and I'll totally won't even remember it. So I think it's time to start putting them somewhere so you can hear me talk about them as opposed to just writing about them, which I might do too. All right, that's it. Peter Sherayko and me. Hit subscribe and like and all the things, and I'll keep telling stories and building guitars.